don't think that any channel is truly overused. This is a $4 billion a year industry. There's a reason for that. There's plenty of clientele that need attorneys. The real issue I see is under optimization of channels. So folks spend money on SEO, but they don't do the necessary lifting to make sure their SEO is really truly optimized. I think another missed piece in the industry is really CRO. Like people think SEO, let's get people on our website. No one thinks what happens after people land on, because the competitive landscape has increased quite a bit in the last 6 months. Someone doesn't get an answer immediately, they're going to go to your competitor because it's another click of a button. I know that this might be unorthodox, but I don't think that AI is affecting, and the overview specifically, are affecting KPIs too much. You're going to see an increase in things like actual visibility or views, but a decrease in clicks. So impressions might increase, clicks might decrease.
Jordan Terry, welcome to eCoffee with Experts. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Austin.
You're very welcome. You are the CEO of TruLaw Marketing and the director at TruLaw. What do you spend most of your time thinking about these days?
Right now, but a lot of shifts day to day. Yesterday, it was client acquisition and retention. I wear a lot of hats, being the CEO of a marketing agency and also helping out on the acquisition and management side of a law firm. So my head's all over the place on any given day.
Yeah, I would imagine you have a lot to juggle, not only getting the business into, maybe both businesses, but also what to do with it, how to operate, how to make sure everything's efficient, using AI for internal operations, but also using it to be more efficient and cost effective in your outreach as well. Kind of just to jump right into it, with the law firms that you've worked with, specifically in TruLaw Marketing, which channel tends to be overused, but maybe it's like people are overusing this channel, but they're not doing it right. Maybe it's cold outreach, maybe it's something else. I mean, do you see a specific channel?
I don't think that any channel is truly overused. This is a $4 billion a year industry. And there's a reason for that. There's plenty of clientele that need attorneys. The real issue I see is under optimization of channels. So folks spend money on SEO, but they don't do the necessary lifting to make sure their SEO is really truly optimized. They'll give an SEO agency some money and say, get us cases. They don't get reviews. They don't do offsite SEO work. The same can be said for advertising. They hand money over. They don't really check their advertising. They don't check the creative. They don't check the funnels to make sure that it's optimized, not only to get the eyeballs, but to take folks who are interested in services and convert them into clients. And I'm going to flip it on the question on its head a little bit. I don't know if there's any channels that are lacking, but there are issues post-funnel that I see, and they're very apparent across a ton of law firms. The number one being client management, onboarding, and high levels of attrition. So it kind of shocks me when I work with law firms. We come in and beyond just traditional marketing advertising, we help them with business optimization. And I ask them, hey, once someone signs up, what's the call time? How quickly are you getting back to them? What does it look like? How quickly do they get to a lawyer? What are the resources you offer? And a lot of law firms, even large law firms, don't have anything in place for that process flow.
Really?
And it really stands out as a major issue within the industry.
Yeah, that is wild. I mean, it's a big initiative internally for us based on our, we have a couple new channels that we're rolling out, but also we're doubling down in 2026 on the channels that are working. And one of our key, I guess it's a KPI is speed to lead. As soon as we have someone that comes into our ecosystem, how quickly can we get in touch with them? Because it's a main needle mover. It may seem silly, but like if it's on somebody's mind, you gotta touch base with them. How do you guys approach that? I mean, shortening that speed to lead.
Yeah, so we do a number of things to optimize their intake. There's certain tools we use. We prefer to use Simply Convert Chatbot for all of our advertising and marketing when possible, because it automates the process of screening the client and letting them know the answers they're looking for. That's really whether it be a mass tort or PI, people just want to know answers to their legal questions. They're in a bad position. They're probably down financially. They're dealing with injuries, and they want to know whether or not they can be helped. So we try to implement ways to give them those answers immediately, and then just find ways to optimize the process of taking those leads and turning them into contact points as quickly as possible. So our goal is always having someone at the law firm or someone on the intake team calling or contacting the lead within 5 minutes, because we find
Yeah.
that after 5 minutes, attrition rate just goes through the roof.
Yeah.
And ideally, with our firms that are doing really well, it's 2 minutes. 2 minutes,
Mm.
basically 7 days a week, 9 to 5. They're getting on the phone with people, they're answering questions, they're giving them the information they're looking for.
Yeah, I love that. And you also bring up a good point of qualifying the lead to make sure it's even a real opportunity. I mean, that can save so much headache on the back end, chasing down people that really have no business being in your ecosystem in the first place. They're just looking for the information and they're not quite at a position to convert and move forward. I'm looking at the TruLaw.com website, and something that I really like is you have two options for first time visitors to engage. You have a drop down that says select drug, device, or product. And there's a list of, I would assume, the most common, you know, suits that you see, lawsuits that you see. And then you also, right beside that, have a search bar where you can search the side effect, the toxin, or the device. I'm curious, are you, I mean, I'm sure you're looking at those two different, or maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe you can help me out here. How do
No,
you,
you're
like,
right.
yeah, where do
We
people engage
definitely
with that?
so we track the engagements on that through heat maps and through Google Analytics data. And
Mm,
honestly, with our own website and all of our client websites, we like to offer at least two ways to source the same information or
mm,
have the same call to action. So if you go through that website, you'll find that all the service pages, things like AFFF lawsuit, will have an option for them to chat on a bot or call us, because every person's different, their preferences are different. So we just like to offer as many opportunities for them to engage as possible. We analyze that data, determine what's working best, and then every once in a while, we try to shift our design on our web pages to ensure that we're offering the most optimized version of the call to action. So I think
mm.
another missed piece in the industry is really CRO. Like, people think SEO, let's get people on our website. No one
Yeah.
thinks, what happens after people land site? How do we get them to engage and actually convert to a lead? So
Mm.
conversion rate optimization is like a really important part of our business.
Mm. You know, I've seen a heat map SaaS. I think it's called Hotjar. What,
Mhm.
if you don't mind me asking, like, what platform do you use?
We use Hotjar.
Do you? Okay.
And we use something frog as well. I have to
Screaming
ask my
Frog,
technical
probably.
guys. It might be Screaming Frog. So we utilize a few different depending on the market and the client. So for our mass tort clients, we might use a different tool. And just like we like to test out different methodologies for intake, we like to test out different tools to figure out which ones work best for our operation.
Mm, I love that. And just giving them two options. I mean, it's like there was a study that was done that said, like, if you have a vending machine that's a Pepsi on the front, and then you have a Coke machine with Coke on the front. In fact, offering that second option actually increased the sales of both machines, which is wild. It's
Interesting. Yeah,
now it's not
that's
like
pretty crazy.
do I want a soda or not? Now it's like, which soda do I want? So I think that's
Mhm.
really smart, having those two options everywhere. Let's step into AI. How are AI overviews shaping how the legal field interacts with SERPs? Like, what signals, like, basically what signals matter?
So I know that this might be unorthodox, but I don't think that AI is affecting, and the overview specifically, are affecting KPIs too much. You're going to see an increase in things like actual visibility or views, but a decrease in clicks. So impressions might increase, clicks might decrease. And that's natural, right? Because people search something like what to do after a car accident. Before, they'd have to select one of the SERP options, funnel to your website, they become an engaged click, potential client, and they were looking for that answer, right? Now
Hmm.
AI overviews provide that information. So they don't have to click on a website, you see clicks go down. However, if they're a legitimate client or a potential legitimate client, AI overviews does not solve the issue of
Hmm.
representation. So I do think that it will have a lasting impact on SEO, but I don't think that AI overviews are going to kill law firm SEO or it shifts the entire narrative, because at the end of the day, people are still going to need an attorney and they're going to still use the search functionality to find a representative to help them with their case. So
Hmm.
until Google comes out with a flagship product that is a AI attorney, I don't think there's going to be a huge shift in KPIs. With that
Yeah.
being said, we are focused a little less on rankings Before,
Mhm.
the number one position was always the best. Now, number one's not always the best because that sometimes, depending on the tool you're using, means you're in the AI overviews that doesn't get much click engagement.
Mm, mm,
Whereas number two, number three are better. And impressions, I didn't put much weight into impressions before. I'm starting to put more weight into impressions where AI overviews are appearing in the SERP.
mm. And how does that affect how does that affect content? Like, are you leaning into top, middle, bottom more, or how do you allocate resources?
So it doesn't shift our content focus much. What we've done is we had this theory about 2, 3 years ago. The keywords no longer mattered as much. People were
Mhm.
putting a lot of weight into keywords, right? Keyword dense content, and you'll rank well. We took this unorthodox approach, I guess. Let's not focus on keywords. Let's adjust our content strategy so that content is focused on answering questions that folks involved in a specific litigation or practice area would be interested in getting the answer for. So
Mm,
our content was focused on creating an introduction, asking a series of questions in a conversational way,
mm.
providing the answers, and then working in funnels throughout that process, call to actions, information about the law firm. And I think that it's done us a good service with the introduction of AI because it seems like AI is prioritizing those content pieces that formulate questions and then provide answers.
Yeah.
The only thing that's really different is we've really tried to focus in on our structure. So finding a way to really well organize our content, which is always important for SEO, but it seems even
Mhm.
more important now for AI, so that it's very well mapped, very well interlinked, very easy to navigate, and the structure and importance of pages are very apparent based on parent versus child content.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so we're talking about the on-page SEO, like having a good structure, having content that reflects more prompt, right? And it reflects answers and not necessarily keyword clusters. Are you taking, like, I guess, topics, and that's how you're guiding the content instead of around keywords? Like, is that what you're saying?
Basically, yes. So what I like to do, we train our content writing team to do this. They approach every litigation, every topic as if they know nothing about personal injury law, nothing about mass tort law. And we
Mm,
tell them, put yourself in the shoes of the average audience for this litigation. What questions do you have? Write those down on a piece of paper, respond to those, and then figure out questions to those responses. We
mm,
organize that into a structured, basically conversation. You can see it reflected in some of the TruLaw content and some of our other client content so that it flows like you're having a conversation with a client or a potential
mm.
client. So that's kind of the way that we structure. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble. So I don't know if that answered your
No.
question.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. It can be really hard, especially as you're an expert, to I don't want to say dumb yourself down, but really to bring yourself to the shoes of someone who doesn't understand that. You can get into the technical jargon pretty quickly, I would imagine. And there's a huge skill in being able to simplify things. So we have the on-site content. How heavily concerned are you with technical and making sure that the, I guess, website has solid technical foundations? Is there anything special that you're doing to appeal to LLM visibility and, LLM.txt or anything like that?
Yeah, so I mean, I live in GT metrics. I would say functionality is it's foundational. It's way more important. Not more important, but it's more important to establish good functionality first before you worry about content or offsite SEO. Because
Mhm,
I mean, I know people are pitching that like AI SEO is this new cool thing, but really, it it amounts to the same requirements as original SEO. Like you need a
mhm,
strong website that functions well, that links well, that loads quickly, that's
mhm,
easy for users to use on desktop or mobile or any interface. And then from there, you worry about content. So we're always focused on site speed, site functionality. Interlinking is really important.
mhm.
I always tell our team we should be the Wikipedia of law firms. Like
Nice.
you should be able to click on one page and get to any other page within like 2, 3 clicks just from interlinks. So
Mm,
those things are very, very important to us still. I don't think it's shifted much just because of AI. They've always been a focus area.
mhm. So we've covered the two pillars of SEO, but take me down the path of the third pillar, offsite authority. How, what's changed in terms of building links? How are you approaching brand citations? What's new? What's happening?
Now that's changed a lot since AI became publicly accessible and easy to use. Before, you were required to hire an SEO team, hire a marketing team, have a content writer. research, write, edit, post, work WordPress. That was all the steps it took to make a potentially linkable or rankable piece of content. Now with AI writing tools, everyone has access to do that very quickly. If you gave me about 10 minutes and a few agents I built out, I could write a 10,000 word piece on any piece of content, get it up on the website in 5 minutes. So with all that oversaturation in the market of content, you've got to find ways to stand out outside of your competition. The bar is set to a new standard. And I think that having a ton of offsite authority is really important. Having
Mm.
a lot of activity on socials, having, brand awareness campaigns running through PR, through link building, YouTube and video content is really important. All of that has been a shift into a major focus for us over the last year and a half.
Yeah. I mean, digital PR is something that we're seeing that tends to create a lot of visibility in LLMs, even brand mentions and citations that don't necessarily attribute a do follow link. Still, it's more about the niche relevance and the context, like how much authority does this website have? Not even necessarily in terms of DRDA, but really like how well aligned and how trusted is that site that's referring the domain. Tell me a little
Yeah.
bit more about you just mentioned social platforms. Reddit is a huge conversation that I'm having a lot. YouTube, Quora, all of those. How are you approaching those sort of like, new drivers?
So obviously, if you watch if you jump on Claude right now and you watch the agent progress on what activities they're doing when searching for query information on a given legal topic, one of the first things they look at is Reddit, which is very interesting. And we've
Mm,
seen Reddit in the SERPs pop up. I know it's been nuked a bit in the last 6 months, but Reddit was very popular in Google search during those big shifts in the algo update post February 2025. So it is a focus area. But I think a lot of people are trying to treat Reddit like a traditional link building platform.
hmm,
They find a post, it's about Camp Lejeune lawsuit. They link from that post on their Reddit account back to their website. I don't
hmm.
think that's cutting it.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish some real authority on Reddit by utilizing accounts on Reddit, building those accounts, building karma, and then also offering actual value to people on Reddit. So if there's a question posed on a given litigation, we'll have a conversation first with
Mm,
that person, engage with them, try to give some value, give some information. And at that point, if it's a good opportunity, then we'll backlink to the website and say, hey, if you want to find out more, go to this website. But Reddit is definitely, and other forums, Quora, those are important to engage in. The one we're really focusing on is YouTube right now
mm,
for a number of reasons. Credibility with AI and Google and other search engines,
mhm.
but also it's where people are going to find answers more often
Yeah.
than not nowadays.
Yeah. I was just on a it was another podcast and we were talking about business leaders, marketing people, even attorneys, and what the host was saying to me was that business leaders aren't going to YouTube to find, podcasts on their industry, on their expertise. They're doing audio only, but I think it's very different, if I'm an attorney and I'm looking to learn more and stay up to date with the industry, maybe I don't go to YouTube because I'm not looking for entertainment, but you're saying that actual, people who are searching for, a lawyer or some sort of representation, they are going to YouTube quite a bit.
Yeah, they definitely are, and not just
Yeah.
YouTube. So the value in YouTube,
Uh-huh.
and this could be for folks that are looking for a lawyer, folks that are lawyers looking for information on business
Hmm.
ops. You can cut a YouTube video and you can repurpose that into audio only podcasts, into
Mm.
shorts, which can be shared on socials like LinkedIn if your audience is more B2B, if it's B2C. Platforms like TikTok, we're seeing the younger generation using TikTok more often than any other search engine to find answers to legal questions.
Mm.
YouTube shorts are a very easy way to get engagements, get brand awareness without spending money. There's a ton of traction there. There's a ton of traction on Instagram Reels. So YouTube and creating those videos is important, but that's just step one. We try to
Mm.
cut those into many more marketable pieces of content.
Hmm. And then how do you compare organic searches versus paid ads? I mean, are you leaning into more one than the other? Or I guess walk me through that a little bit.
That's a bit loaded because there's a lot that comes into play there. So I like to analyze the firm's goal, the litigation, the firm's positioning, the budget, and the timelines. So let's say that there's a new litigation, it's a mass tort, and my firm is really well positioned to rank quickly on organic, but they have a high budget. I'm going to tell them, hey, let's spend money at both places. Let's compare CPC, cost per case. Let's figure out
Mm-hmm.
what has better ROI. And then we shift budget accordingly. If it's a tight timeline, they're not positioned well to, rank quickly, then I'm going to lean toward paid ads. But
Mm.
if it's a longer timeline, an evergreen piece of content or evergreen litigation, especially something like a single event, I generally lean more towards SEO because it's more of a compounding investment. The more time, effort, money you put into it, the more it grows, the more quickly the ROI increases. I know that's a lot of information. My main goal is always to find balance. So we're constantly running ad campaigns at the same time that we're running SEO campaigns. And then we're just comparing costs and figuring out what's working for that law firm, how much budget they have, and where money should be going.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you bring up a good point is that it's not just about the trend, it's about the ROI, it's about like revenue. Are there any other metrics that like KPIs or metrics that you're looking at that are maybe they've popped up in the last year or two because of AI, because of trends that are shifting? Like what are you tracking to find the health of the organization?
I honestly before hated impressions. I hated when attorneys would be like, "What are my impressions?" Because I
Mm,
always would say that doesn't translate to cases for you. When we
mm-hmm,
started this business, our goal was to report on the KPIs attorneys really cared about, which are cost per case and then return on investment. And those were our big ones. And we always
mm-hmm,
reported the traditional SEO stuff. Ever since the shift into I think impressions are more important. It's definitely been a focus area for us. Other than that,
hmm,
attrition rate is definitely something that I'm very focused on for all of my clients because the competitive landscape has increased quite a bit in the last 6 months. Like I said, more people are putting out content, more people are online, and you're seeing higher rates of attrition. If someone doesn't get an answer immediately, they're going to go to your competitor because it's
mm,
another click of a button. So
mm-hmm.
we're really, really focused on attrition rates and improving those attrition rates.
Mm-hmm. And by attrition, you mean like someone goes partway down the funnel and then they bounce, or they go onto the website and then they pogo stick back out?
Yeah, sorry, I should be more specific to the industry. Yes, it can be attrition in that they're lost during the onboarding process. But
Okay.
really, the attrition rate I'm most focused on is qualified intakes, meaning they've been
Mm,
screened or they've been talked to, they do qualify for a given litigation, then signing with another law firm. It
mm,
happens a lot more often than you think. And it's because it's a lot easier now, right? If I was looking for a Camp Lejeune lawyer 4 years ago, there's only a handful in the market that had good content on Google, gave me my answers that I would trust without ever having a conversation with them. Now there's
mm.
tons. So if I don't get an answer from Joe Schmo number one law firm, I'm just going to go to Joe Schmo number two and play a game of who's going to contact me first.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, with I can't remember the economist who was giving this. It was like a TED talk or something where he was talking about the paradox of options or something, and he's like, it's actually harder to choose when there's more options, but thus brings in the importance of visibility, impressions, and yeah, I guess just seeing the same entity over and over. Are you Tell me a little bit more because I know we kind of touched on it, but I want to get back into it. The digital PR and like what sort of campaigns are you putting together? Like what are some of your ideas for digital PR, press releases that's going to bring more visibility, impressions, and ROI?
So I like pretty diverse PR campaigns. The first thing that I try to do with my law firms I work with is find a way to give back to the community in a charitable, philanthropic way because I
Hmm.
think that's the best way to build PR. It
Mm,
might not have as much value as like a real big PR on a case settlement, but that's content that people will engage with, that they like to see, builds real good brand awareness, easy to get
mhm,
pickups on, easy to build links for.
mhm,
So we're really focused right now on finding those reoccurring philanthropic events that we can build PR on. There's a lot of value in those. Other than that, we focus on, either depending on the client, depending on their DMA, either national PR campaigns for big litigation news, or if it's more localized settlements, localized community events, outreach. Those are all really important. Our PRs primarily right now, written PR, working with journalists to get press out into the news. But other engagements like this podcast are great. So anytime I can get my attorneys to sign up for a podcast, that's good brand awareness, it's good
yeah.
exposure, and it's a good way to build some potentially build some backlinks to the website too.
Yeah, nice. I love the charitable cause in terms of public relations. I've heard that several times, and it's such a good idea. I even had there was a guest who said we do a sponsorship. It's not like $10 billion or anything, but it's like a couple $1,000s every year for this school, and we help them. We help graduating seniors or something, and that always gets us a lot of traction in the local community. So it sounds like, similar to what you're talking about. You're based in Chicago, but you also work with law firms who have national cases, national mass tort. How are you really going about, even if it's just traditional link building, not talking about digital PR, like what avenues are you searching in order to find more local visibility?
For mobile, we try to really just put the groundwork in either internally or have our clients to establish good relationships with local reporters.
Hmm.
So, you build up an index, Rolodex, as they say, of local reporters who will cover your stories. You build a
Mm,
relationship with them. And that's a really good way to build local PR, to do link building
yeah.
in that way. Outside of PR, though, we work with a number of blogs where they allow us to post. And we focus on blogs that are specific to the industry or adjacent to the industries we're working in. So we're not looking
Yeah.
to like post guest blogs on travel blogs. But if it's a
Yeah.
health blog, that's a great place to post information about something like the baby formula neck lawsuit, letting people know
Mm,
that there's this issue and there's this lawsuit and linking back to our website. Most important thing is just like always driving value, right? Whether it's
yeah.
like doing blog posts or PR or whatever is if you drive natural organic value or provide natural organic value, that's going to drive natural organic traffic, which is going to build overall returns.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like what you said about having those relationships, because if you think about it, like you were mentioning, if you give me an agent and a couple of hours, I can probably write a 10,000 piece or a 10,000 word, piece on some topic that we can deep dive in. AI can cover that. It can cover the technical aspects mostly of building a website, reviewing code and all of that. But really the relationship building can be assisted by AI, but that's I think that's still the hardest one, or it's still the furthest away from AI really impacting it. And that's why the offsite authority, is pulling the weight. That's why you're seeing Reddit show up. That's why you're seeing digital PR and brand mentions being sourced in LLMs. It's like it's a lot harder to fake that, I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Well, there's a level of credibility that LLMs and
Hmm.
Google Overview has with those news agencies and their websites.
Mm.
They're always going to trust generally a news agency over a million law firms competing with the same contents. There's most definitely value in getting placements on those high DA websites.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Jordan, I'm conscious of our time here. As we wrap up, is there anything exciting that you're working on that maybe you can tease for us before I ask you where we can find you online?
Yeah, so we're working on it's kind of hush hush right now, but a new tech platform for attorneys to help with client management referrals. That should
Mm.
be out in Q2 of 2026. So hopefully I'll be able to share some more information here with you in the next month or two.
Oh,
But keep
that's
an eye out for it.
exciting.
I think it's pretty revolutionary.
Yeah, amazing. So we'll link to trulaw.com, TRULAW.com in the show notes. Where can we find more about you? LinkedIn? Is there any place specific you want us to engage with you?
Yeah, so True Law is Pollock Law. That's our law firm. If you want to find more about our services specifically, that's TruLawMarketing.com, TRULAW marketing right there.
Nice.
And that's where you can find information about what we're doing, our services for law firms, more information about myself. Find me on LinkedIn, not super active on any other social media platforms. So yeah, that's where you'll find me.
Can we find you dancing on TikTok, or is that specifically
No,
for
no TikTok. I am anti TikTok. Yeah, I not for any moral reasons, just because I know if I download it, I'm not gonna be able to get off TikTok. So
Same, same. Yeah, I have resisted as much as I can, as much as I can. Jordan, thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming on. Law is one of those, if you don't know what you're doing, it's a hard industry to compete in, but if you do, then you can expand into other service offerings like just like you guys have done. So, thanks for sharing your wisdom and your expertise. We'll see you next time.
All right, Austin, I appreciate your time. This is great. Have a good one.